Nationwide protests against police brutality gripped Nigeria for a third day running this weekend. At least one person was believed dead yesterday amid clashes between protesters and police. Now, thousands marched calling for the disbanding of the police's special anti-robbery squad known by the acronym SARS. Dubbed the hashtag EndSARS protests, the rallies brought Nigeria's largest city, Lagos, the capital, Abuja, as well as smaller cities to a standstill. The unit was founded in 1992 in a bid to combat robbery. Since then, its members have been accused of extrajudicial killings, torture and extortion. Joining us now for a perspective on the unrest in Nigeria is Adetunji Omotola, a political commentator, and Dr. Adeoye Akinola, senior researcher at Institute for Pan-African Thought and Conversation. Gentlemen, a pleasure to have you on the program. Dr. Akinola, let me begin with you. Let's start by getting a better understanding of this SARS unit. It was founded to combat robbery, but its members are being accused of extrajudicial killings, torture and extortion. Now, judging by these allegations, it sounds safe to assume that this group is now a law unto itself.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the background you just provided. As you noted, it was actually established to combat crime. But for the past decades, it has been the other way around, whereby we have seen the unit becoming even a law unto themselves. In fact, one thing that is very clear in their operation is just that they have mastered the art of using violence to combat violence. And not just violence, I mean crime to combat crime. If you go across Nigeria and you speak to the average Nigerians on the street, the unit is so dreaded. And the fear of SARS is the beginning of wisdom in Nigeria. So they have actually gone beyond their scope of combating crime, and many of them also have been accused of criminal activities, ranging from extortions, from blackmail, corruption, and all kinds of crime, and I mean in even broad daylight. You need to know that these are faceless, ununiform units, so it is extremely difficult to even know if someone claiming to be SARS actually SARS.
Adetunji, let's bring you in. A video of the unit's officers beating a man about 600 kilometers from the capital sparked the initial protests on Thursday. But police denied accusations that the man had been beaten to death. Is there an update on this case?
Look, it's very unfortunate. First of all, thank you for having me on your show. It's very unfortunate that in the 21st century, under democratic governments duly elected, we're talking about brutality on the scale that has brought Nigeria's image again into sharp focus for negative acts by law enforcement. As you know, the police in Nigeria, or you may be aware, the police in Nigeria, if you remember the history, there's a unit in Nigeria called the Mobile Police Force. They call them kill and go. Kill and go meaning they kill you and they go, and nothing happens. And if you remember Fela Kuti, who sang about his mother who was killed in the 70s, I think 78 to be exact, and that song is so powerful, and he cried in that song. And the title of that song was Unknown Soldier. So the detachment of about 1,000 soldiers that were sent by the military regime to go and take on Fela Kuti because they felt his way of life was criticizing the military regime. And so they killed his mother, they threw her from the balcony, and no one paid any price for that. So Nigerians, even before SARS, were used to impunity by law enforcement, whether it's the army or the police. But now, with regards to this specific killing in Ughelli, it's a part of Delta State, all-rich state in the south of Nigeria. What actually happened was that, as this SARS policemen always do, they go after young men who are doing great. Sometimes they profile them. If you have dreadlocks, if you have tattoos, if you're carrying an iPhone, or you're driving a fancy car, or have a laptop, they come after you. They try and extort, they kidnap them, and obviously sometimes they kill them, they shoot them in the leg. So what has happened since then is that there's been a counter measure by alleged hoodlums who have also gone after the police that killed a gentleman by the name of Corporal Stanley Erga. He's been killed, they injured another policeman, so a detachment of police have moved into Ughelli in Delta State where this whole thing began. But what has also happened is that celebrities, young celebrities like Davido and Falls, all these great musicians in Nigeria, run town, they're marching in Lagos, there are simultaneous marches all around the country. The president has summoned the Inspector General of Police, who is akin to the National Commissioner of Police in South Africa, to say that something has to be done. I think the police have now banned this group, but the ban doesn't really, people want them to, dislocate everything completely because they've banned them in the past. And in fact, it's so sad that these guys actually do not wear uniform. So they're almost like a rogue unit, if you like. And in fact, there was a case of a lady, a youth copper, a National Youth Service copper, that was raped to death and nothing happened. And what tends to happen in Nigeria, the reason why I think Nigerians are very angry is that every time a policeman kills someone in Nigeria, nothing happens. There's no prosecution, there's no compensation, and they carry on business as usual. So Nigerians are fed up. They're saying enough is enough. It must end. And the president's statement also doesn't really help. He says that he's getting reports regularly, that they're constantly looking into reform of the police force, that Nigerians should be calm, and that something will be done. But that's not good enough. I mean, somebody should be fired. And that's where we are. Somebody has not been fired. No one has resigned. Nobody is taking responsibility. And that seems to be the hallmark of the situations regarding police brutality in Nigeria. And what I also want to add is that it's not, you can't look at police brutality in Nigeria independently. It's a microcosm of the larger society where impunity, whether it's by politicians or very powerful individuals who treat people very badly and nothing happens, whether it's the army, whether it's the politicians. We see that from time to time. The people they jump out of the car, start beating people, even the elderly, and nothing happens. So I think this is a tipping point for Nigerians, particularly the youth who are fed up of this kind of wicked acts of dehumanization that carries on and nobody does anything about it.
Dr. Akinola, let me bring you back into this conversation. And let's zoom into the response to these protests. Police have promised to curtail some of the unit's powers, but demonstrators, however, demanded that it be disbanded effectively. Where are we now regarding the process to disband this controversial unit?
Thank you so much. In 2010, Amnesty International actually came out with a report trying to warn the government of the misapplication of the authority of SARS. In 2018, the vice president of the country, acting as the president at that point in time, actually declared that the unit SARS was going to be reformed and overhauled. Inspector General of Police also came out to support the same rhetoric that we are going to reform SARS. And the thing about the entire issue is just that up till now, not even one officer have ever been arrested to stand up in trial for whatever they have done wrong. So at this stage, Nigerians are fed up. They don't want any reform. They don't want any overhaul. They want total disbandment of the entire force. They want government to scrap it, not only scrap it, but they also want people that have used legitimate means of coercion to terrorize the people they are supposed to actually defend. They want them on trial. So people are on this trial. You must also know that this is also a larger picture of the disappointments of Nigerians against government performance. So many of them are also unleashing their anger on the federal government for bad performance. So this is an opportunity for them, and they insist that unless they see a concrete result, they will not go back to their houses.
Mr. Omotola, you alluded to this next assertion a short while ago, that there are also allegations that the SARS officers' conduct is an extension of the impunity of Nigeria's security forces that they enjoy. What can you tell us about the state of policing in Nigeria?
Look, let me take you down a little bit. Obviously, I want to give you a report that I worry about a lot. In 2015, when President Muhammadu Buhari was elected, he was actually elected on March 28, and he came to power He was sworn in on the 29th of May, 2015, and he put together his cabinet on the 11th of November 2015. It took him about 6 months to put together his cabinet. And one of the first reports he received was from the Amnesty International. We talked about stars on their shoulders and blood on their hands. And he was talking about the Nigerian military and their response to Boko Haram suspects in the northeast of Nigeria, typically the states of Yobe, Adamawa, and Borno. Now, what happens is that when the military go on the anti-insurgency campaign, whoever they catch, once you're suspected, they kill them summarily. There's even footage that was provided by Amnesty International where soldiers in Nigerian military uniform were beheading, young men, in a ditch, and they were beheading them with, knives and so on. It was very graphic. And so the president, we thought that, there would be something done. Some of these things were condoned at the very highest level of the Nigerian military, and names were mentioned in that report. I have those reports with me because I'm very interested in the security and the development of not only Nigeria, but the entire African continent. And so when you look at that, and then you also look at the fact that even in terms of securing the country, of late, there's been a lot of problems in terms of managing the military because there's sabotage. There's also people deserting the military. So when you look at the security architecture of Nigeria, it has become really a problem that, people are really worried about the fact that even the basic rights of Nigerians that the military and the police are supposed to protect, they're no longer protected. And so that's one level. But the second level is that even the police, when you look at what they're doing, extortion, beating people up, extrajudicial killings, the question you have to ask is, what is the quality of the personnel that we have in the Nigerian police? I remember about 6 years ago, former President Jonathan, on his way out of the country, because under a civilian government, under a civilian administration, is the police that does the security of the country, largely. But outside the borders, then the military kick in, the army, the navy, and the air force. And President Jonathan was very sad. He almost wept when he saw the conditions with the ordinary policeman in Nigeria lives. Sometimes you see a policeman in Lagos, they're stopping cars, they don't even have decent footwear, they don't even have proper gear, they don't even have, when it rains, they don't even have a place to, there's not a proper, they have to have donated, because it rains heavily in Nigeria, May, June, July. The police are not really well taken care of. But the top level of the police commissioner, the police, deputy inspector generals, they look so comfortable. They look like bank CEOs. So there's a serious welfare problem with our military and our police at the lower levels. And because things are so tough in Nigeria, the economic conditions with COVID and all of that added onto the plate, it becomes easier for guys in the military to go rogue. And I see this as guys having actually gone rogue. And also the problem also, I suspect, in Nigeria is because we don't have laws that allow the citizenry to carry any firearms, unlike South Africa or the United States, where everybody has some kind of firearm. The police know that even if they beat you up, even if they jack you up, you have nothing to protect yourself. So Nigerians are defenseless. They have no weapons to challenge anyone, and the police just jump on top of them and they really brutalize them. And so I think that they need to balance it out. So because even if you were to scrap SARS today, it's not going to change much because it's still the same psychology and dependency. And what they're actually doing is they're depending on the citizenry for stuff that the police itself should be able to provide for its members. There's a Nigerian Police Service Commission. There's a National Commission of Police. There's also a Minister of Police. And, but the welfare of the police must be paramount now, especially given this very painful trajectory of, because now the police has been brought into disrepute and the name of the country yet again has been dragged into the mud on a global scale because of the abuse of human rights, because that's what it is. And I think the police, I sympathize with them as well, because they're not really well taken care of. And you expect that that should be the core fulcrum when you're talking about law and order. The police themselves should be above all these petty crimes or even these heinous crimes, because once the population no longer trusts the police, it's a dangerous threat, and we don't want to go there as a country. So that is my submission.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for your time. Very insightful perspective given to us there about the situation in Nigeria and that controversial SARS unit. Joining us there was Adetunji Omotola, a political commentator, and Dr. Adeoye Akinola, senior researcher at the Institute for Pan-African Thought and Conversation.